Hey everybody, welcome to the pre-market stream that we will run to the public every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us this morning. This is Spartan speaking, by the way, going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on what's going to happen this morning. So once I'm done here, Beth's going to come on, give you a breakdown of the macro environment, any news events that happen over the course of the evening, going through any of the bigger picture items, commodities, ETFs, even big caps that make sense to be looking at for today. Once that's done, I'm going to come back on. We're going to be going through the individual names I'm looking at that are gapping up, gapping down. We'll talk about the news associated with those gap up, gap downs. We'll also build an action plan for them from a technical standpoint, and as well go through the SPY, the FANG, the VIX, the Qs, the IWM, and the VIX. After that's done, pass it over to Selpeach. He'll go through any analyst calls he's looking at for today, macro environment as well, and individual names that he's looking at to trade out the gate, and then I'll do a quick little recap before the open. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Beth, guys, and I will talk to you shortly. Beth, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Thank you, my friend. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome. Pre-market here, SpartanTrading.com. This is what we do every morning before the market opens. It is Wednesday, live YouTube stream, so we get to share it with the rest of the world. All of our analysis, what our thoughts are, technicals, you name it, we got it covered. Okay, let's have some fun. All right, overnight, what happened? We still have, obviously, the National People's Congress over in China. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Come on, PPI. Anyways, inflation rate. Yeah, okay. GDP growth out of Japan, a little bit softer. I mean, what are you going to say, right? API, crude stocks was a build yesterday, last night. That's kind of interesting for all those who are paying attention there. We got mortgage backs, we got EIA. See what's going on here. We do have the COT. We're going to go over that. Some very interesting things going on, at least on the oil side versus the metal side. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Inflation rate. Let's see what's going on in Russia. Well, you know the drill. Anyways, I was negligent yesterday. I was remiss in not going over the earnings whispers, that recaps last week's and month to date, what's going on. Still fine, except the whisper surprises are starting to come in to average, as is the earnings per share. So we're starting to see the waning impact of the quantitative easing, right, on some of these balance sheets in terms of some of the earnings, yada, yada, yada. We'll see. But we still have a plethora of revenue surprises. So, and guys, this is going to be the key for the next earnings cycle, right? Because everybody's just thinking the sky's falling. I think that's when the market can actually have a robust rally. I liken this, like I say, to October, November, December of 2018. And I actually think we're starting to get really closer to that with each passing day. All right. So we talk about a lot of these things. Let's take a look at some of the flows, right? In terms of the sectors and stuff like that. Here's healthcare. You can see, sentiment, rolling EPS. So that's going to be interesting, right? Flows last week. Well, the only thing that was up was positive earnings, which would make sense, right? In this type of market environment. Value traps, right? I love it. This is new. Momentum down, yeah, well, and then you can see here in terms of the sectors, what's going on. Energy, obviously materials. I think we did have a short-term blow-off in both gold, silver, and oil yesterday. Irregardless, we now have to wait for the FOMC, and I'll go over the hedging that I put on and I announced to everybody. I added to some of my SCOs and stuff like that, and I put some XLE puts on. I got out of a lot of stuff, took some profits, yada, 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 which is what it's BTFD. We're FIFO, first one in, first one out. So we would be the first ones to be selling, which we were starting to do. And I told everybody I was constantly taking profits. So I'm looking for a pullback, meaningful pullback in wheat, like corn, and the other stuff that's been fluffy. Right? Okay. So here we are, right? Earnings still, some of these guys slowing guidance, not a good thing. But I thought I saw that it was up a little bit. Anyways, we shall see. I've got some interesting trades also that I started to nibble on, and I'll talk to you about that. off of a bounce. I think we had the blow off low also overseas. And a lot of this would make sense to everybody. Okay, so here's the nickel thing. I mean, this is what FOMO looks like, right? The only thing about this whole, the industrial metals, right, is the impact it's going to have on the auto sector, because so many of these metals, right, are involved with batteries, lithium batteries, as well as the actual, chips and stuff like that, making the boards, the gold and silver. And I know, we'll see. So as you can see here, GSI indices. I mean, this is pretty, it's remarkable. But hey, that's what a commodity super cycle looks like. We'll ban natural gas, okay? She calls for maximum restraint in Ukraine. So she's saying, well, maybe I'm not all in with. Anyways, U.S. intel heads warned U.S. could double down in Ukraine. I mean, boy, Putin's got to be like a caged animal right now. He can't be happy. He looks kind of, he never in his wildest dreams did he think that there would be such a unity against Russia with all these sanctions. The dude never thought this, clearly, right? Silence for Ukrainians to flee battered cities, whatever. By Poland's fighter jet offer. Okay. This is going to be interesting. Right. Headlines, NATO. Of course, they should be doing that. They should be doing everything possible. Come on. Paper tigers. That's all I have. Head of Activision deal, DOJ, SEC probe. Yeah, we'll see. I still think it goes through. I'm still in those 85 calls, FYI. You know what? This is kind of interesting. I actually, because I was thinking, okay, if we're going to have a bounce, what things are going to bounce? I did not swing a lot. I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit of a chicken shit when it comes to that stuff. I did have Apple strangle, Amazon strangle on, and I do have some Tesla calls. I didn't do any of my leveraged UDAO, TNA, TQQQ. I should have, but I'm not that much of it. I'm a little bit of a weenie here. Okay. I did buy a little bit of FNGU, which is leveraged. This is actually a Bank of Montreal thing. I got my hedges on, yada, yada, yada. I also mentioned, and we'll go over that in terms of some of the trades on the bounce over in Europe. I added to some of my FEZ. I added to some of my EFA. So these are the things I did, right? Let's see what happens with that Microsoft Act. You know what? Another thing that's really, I actually bought some more Google spreads yesterday. I said, this is ridiculous. They're going to be splitting like in July, right? Like, come on. Anyways. Came across this Moscow Times. It's independent. God bless. It's a little hard. It's still up and running, right? I'm not sure where it's located, but obviously they're getting data, right? Russia, oldest university to expel students detained at the war. They don't have to expel them. They're going to jail. Anyways, we got the countdown. 97.8% statistical probability that there will be a 25 basis point rate cut. There's no chance. Okay, 2.2% chance there isn't. Seriously, it's built in, baked in. You know the drill, right? Just saying. I think rates go higher. I'm in TYO. That's the one we came up with in class as well. So we'll see how things play out. Take a look at yesterday. What went on yesterday? I always like to see what these little guys, I am absolutely, this is the second earnings in a row where retail nonstop bought a stock. This one was Bumble. Just saying. Okay, at the end, the IWM, we saw, GLNG. Okay, so we saw like this Young China was kind of interesting, right? 66.34 was the best we've seen in a while. Let's see what premiums were paid. This SPX dude, or dudette, is back. Look at that. GLD, that's a longer dated stuff. This could be Roll, I can't tell you what it is. XBI, this was also very interesting, right? It's a lot of money. So put sweeps, this is the first time we saw GDX put sweeps and stuff like that. I am in GDX puts, I am in GLD puts, I am in SLV puts, I am in SCO equity, well, as well as calls. Okay, I am in XLE puts, so that's tell you what I'm thinking. This Datadog really, I should have stuck with that one. So data, there's a couple things on my 100. Spun's he's gonna find things. The only problem is we're gapping high on, I don't like, it's kind of hard when it gaps high. We'll see what Spun comes up with. I may be tempted to do some more of my leverage stuff. TQQQ, we've been doing really well with that. TNA, UDAO. So we'll see. I don't know yet. I mean, I was in the 45s, 47s on TQQ yesterday. I may look at the, maybe 48s, 47s against the in 50s. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, this is interesting. So we're starting to see equity. This is what people are buying is equity as opposed to on the option side, right? And this, like I say, this is, I don't want to say ineffectual, but it's evolving. And like the retail has done a bang up, amazing job. They're evolving, right? And the memes and the stuff that they're doing now is, low flow, small caps, commodities, et cetera. They're doing really well. And they're finally saying shit with this stuff with Tesla app. And God bless their little hearts. That's what they should be doing. All right, BP, Chevron, Enphase, watch this Enphase. I did all kinds of different solar, so I'm kind of evolving as well. I don't know if the EV names can get the same sort of impact as obviously clean energy type stuff can do. I'm just saying. But Enphase obviously would be one that we would want to look at. ET, Halliburton. So we'll see what comes in to the market. XOM. This WPRT worked really well for us yesterday. I didn't swing it. Those little things I did not swing. I know that some of you followed me on that one. So this is what I'm looking for, stuff like this. It was a great trade. Visa, Tesla. So it's nice, right? So we'll see how that plays out. All right, so let's take a peek here. This is something we also have to start looking at. This is the insider ticker that Benzinger started to produce, which I think is pretty cool, right? Obviously, if it's 10,000, but there's a lot of things that came in that the last couple of days that were interesting to me, right? Now, this is multiple buys. Okay, insider buys. This is individual. So yesterday, South Beach was mentioning UTZ. So someone was buying, I mean, not a lot. I mean, it's like, 9,000. Obviously, this was, people basically getting their stock options, right? And here you see, well, keep an eye on this one. This ACHR, this interests me. That's a pretty good insider buy that came in. It was filed yesterday. Okay, so keep an eye on that. The VLDL, Velodyne got a lot of stuff up and down. Hess got some buying inside, outside. This is over 100,000, obviously. And you can see here, someone took, 10% owner, sold quite a bit yesterday. Hi, Vay. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. That piques my interest. All right, let's see what's going on here with our top peeps, peepettes. Not a lot of peepettes, but mainly peeps. You know the drill. This tech is interesting. And the reason why I say that is I did see some call buying yesterday on it. And if it prints again, I will buy some. PLTR, I'm not touching that thing. Right? All right, let's take a peek. All right, so this is corporate insider buying. This is really interesting, right? So, we have this buy right here. This was back in September, okay, which is really interesting. But this is where a lot of the buying started to happen. Let's go to 5 year, you can see it better, right? So we really haven't had robust, this obviously was COVID, right? Then basically came in and now we're starting going around. So it's kind of mired in muck, right? But I want to show you this. This is what corporate insider buys. This is the XLK, which is obviously Microsoft, Apple, the tech one, right? This is really notable. Okay, when these dudes, okay, start to do what they're doing. Okay, when we're kind of up here, they're starting to see this. This is very, very good. Okay. So 2 months out, 88%. If you could be right 88% of the time, I'm just saying 90, 96. So the XLK insider buying is really interesting. It's not a lot yet, but we have to keep an eye on it. Okay. And even, this is Liz, right? So we're seeing that. Tech seasonality, okay, fine, whatever. Seasonality is meaningless. Just saying. When you have what we have going on right now. Right? And that's why I don't say much on the seasonality side. The only thing I really, really like, I am in a small position in it. Domino's Pizza. It does have Apple, Amazon. This is the strongest it's going to get, guys, in theory, for the next 4 months. NVIDIA, this is strong. So I don't know. AMD. So we'll see. Okay. Insider buy, sell is seasonally adjusted. You can see here, starting to curl up. So these are the little things we need to see, right? All right. I mean, no lipstick on this pig. Consumer staples taken to the woodshed. Oil, energy, clean energy. This will stay extended. I really do believe this. I think it's going to be, this is going to come in. This is going to reset very fast. Consumer staples, real estate, discretionaries. South Beach was all over that stuff, right? Semis, right? Overbought, this is all oversold, right? And then you can see energy utilities. So where's this? Let's follow the bouncing ball, right? Where's the money going to go? It should go into tech, right? I want to defer to Twins on a lot of this stuff because he's got such a fantastic eye as an asset manager. Pulse on this stuff. So 5 years at 0. All right, Japan, shit. United States, we're down there too, right? And here we have, Peru, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, right? And then Mexico, right? A lot of these things are reset. If this rally holds up, then a lot of this should reset really fast. This will all reset real fast. Doesn't take much of a bounce. Okay. This will still be red, red, red. Utilities may become rosy, more rosy. This will all reset down here with the bounce that we're seeing. Okay. This is fascinating. Yesterday, fund flows. This was actually a pretty good amount out of the S&P. Guess what? Qs, it'll be coming back in. Where'd it go? Nowhere. Okay. So this is the fund flows as of last month, right? So fund flows, all sectors, money coming out, right? Fund flows, developed markets, ex-US, so you would expect this to be really quite something, right? Financials, money coming out of. I did add to my financials. These are all just bounces, okay? I'm not wedded to any of these. In my head, I went through, okay, what are all the different things that will, with the yield curve, flattening, inverting, banks can't make money. This is just basically one day at a time. I'll probably get out a lot of this stuff. Okay, so that's where we are there. All right, let's take a peek here. So I wanted to show you this is actually really interesting. So the COT came out yesterday, and this is as of February. I think this is really notable, okay? So what you look at, the swap dealers are not really, it's more the merchants, right? What's going on there, and you should not see a lot, but it's managed money, right? Versus usies and measies. Actually, no, this is actually not usies and measies. We're non-reportable. So other reportables, this would be like big boys and girls, right? What they're doing, right? So in terms of Palladium, they basically increased their shorts, managed money, basically net decline here, increase, right? So let's take a look here at Platinum. This is really interesting. So Platinum actually, so if you see here, there was an increase in the short position in Platinum, believe it or not. So they're thinking a top, right? That won't end well. That mainly because managed money, they stick around too long, okay? This could be hedges, I understand that, but I doubt it. This is a trading desk, right? And here's other reportables, not much going on here. Let's take a look at silver, right? So managed money decreased their, lowered their holdings, okay? And as you can see here, short, they lowered their shorts as well, right? Other reportables also lowered, right? So this is kind of interesting what's going on here. Gold, okay, managed money increased their gold holdings and lowered their shorts. That's really interesting, right? And you can see here equal long shorts, other reportables. Copper, managed money increased their holdings, lowered their shorts, but other reportables increased their shorts. Okay, so this is really aluminum, not much going on there. And then you can see here that we've got steel, a lot going on. It's not actively traded, but you can see here also here, this is an energy sector. Okay, so, and then you can see here California carbon stuff, pretty active. Solar. This will pop probably this coming week. That's all I'm thinking right now. Yeah. Anyways, we move on. Let's take a look at interest rates. Yield curve rates going up. This is kind of interesting. The 2 years kind of flattening a little bit here, right? So while steepening, it's a 2.5, right? I find that interesting across the seas. Yeah, well, this should not be a surprise. This is actually, but so let's take a peek at this. This is how my little busy brain works, right? So we're looking at Fed funds rate, and we're looking at basically this is recession. Okay, so you can see here this they forced us recession, forced recession, forced recession. This is obviously the poster child, the 1970s, right? Going into that, right? And then you can see here, not to that same degree that we had going into the dot-com, right? And here's a CRB, you can see where the problem is it doesn't go far enough back, but this is, right? So this is another indicator. This is kind of fun to look at as well. Okay, so this is inflation, right? Going up, right? So this was a short-lived recession, obviously. So if we do get into recession, you're probably looking at more like this. And you can see here, it was multiple times. So basically they raised rates too much, then it came back down. Then they raised rate, then it popped, then it came back. So this is kind of the cycle that I'm looking for in terms of the commodity super cycle. Pop, pull back, pop, pull back, pop, pop, pull back, just so you know. All right, let's take a look at business loans. Okay, so I said, all right, let's take a peek here. What does this mean? All right, so obviously, look at this. The businesses didn't need money. Now they're starting to need money. Loans are increasing. This is commercial and industrial. Right? Is there any sort of indication that it is impactful, right, for the market? So the market as a whole tends to come in, right, in theory, when business loans are declining, right? And you can see that here as well. So we really haven't had a decline since here, started in May and then down here. And yet here we see it went up, 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 now pulling back. So I'm keeping an eye on it to see whether this is different or how this plays out. But if you look at it in the past, and obviously quantitative easing, the COVID basically had a lot to do with this, right? So, okay, 5, 2.5, coming back down, right? So here's the 5-10, finally breaking the 78.6%. Keep an eye on that one. Here's the 10-year, still holding the breakout pivot as one would expect. Look, I don't know if we have a meaningful low or not. I just don't know. Every day is a day that you look at. We're in a bear market. I only look at weekly, monthly charts. So it's like, we'll see, right? So they're still holding up stuff in China with their conference, right? German, look at this. This is amazing. Let's keep going. All right, so here's the dollar pulling back as it should, right? Everything's obviously gold's pulling back, crude's pulling back, all these asset class, the commodities are pulling back, which they should. But to me, it's a BTFD, okay? Let's see, like I said, I'm in a little bit of coin. This is one of those things, okay, well, if the market's gonna bounce, then cryptos will bounce because crypto and whatever. Anyways, here's gold coming in. This is why I said yesterday, trim, trim, trim. put on some hedges. Why? Meaningful tops, bottoms happen at FOMC meetings. I don't know if it's going to be a top or we're going to pull back into it and then will be a bottom in the next leg up. I don't know. I just don't know. Okay. SCO, I said to you yesterday, I was adding to it. I did add to it. Okay. All right. DBC. Rebuffed at the 50%. I might buy some puts on this. I know, yeah. Okay. This is a long-term trade for me. All right, so I got other stuff on, right? Natural gas got rebuffed. You saw that. I don't have any, I got out of a lot of my CTRA, but this is why I say first one's in, first one out. Do not be afraid to take profits earlier than most. I know it's hard to watch, okay? Because this is the narrative. You come in here and basically gaps down. That's the narrative, all right? That's why you do not be afraid. Take profits, roll up, roll out, okay? You got to get you enough powder so that you can buy the dips. This is so extended. I think you can come all the way back down here. In my head, okay, I think this is what I'm thinking right down here. And I showed you yesterday the candle when this thing pulls back, what it looks like. This is the same narrative. That does not mean we're done. All it means is that week longs will get shaken out. Okay, so let's take a peek here. I said yesterday, I saw very, very unusual high call activity, okay, in SEO. Look at the volume. There's nothing here. Nothing compares to this going all the way back. Okay, this is the daily, but I don't see anything like this going back for years. Okay, that's why I added to my SCO. I said I would. I'm not afraid to buy hedges. I am not afraid to buy hedges. Right? Okay, and I'm going to sell some at the open. Right? And MLP rebuffed, pulling back. OIH. This is interesting. This is Schlumberger. I think it's okay because this is more of a catch-up type trade. XLE got rebuffed. Look at this. At this top here. Okay, you want to sell into these. You cannot expect a breakout. The same rules apply as you would do with any other chart. You sell into the resistance. If it basically breaks, then you basically get back in it, roll up higher and farther out. That's how it works, right? And that's more important with commodity trading 101. Okay. Is USO against UNG? So the physical, this is oil still outperforming, but starting to come back in. So I actually think that's, I don't know. Here's gold crude, reclaiming, all right? Here's gold, double top. Like I said, it's a chart. Look at the freaking chart. Don't follow the FOMO. Don't. Look at the chart. Let it guide you. Don't be afraid to take profits. All right, here's gold, lumber. It's starting to, actually gold's starting to gear up again, lumber. Okay, I'm doing a lot of these just to see. Lithium. I bought some LAC yesterday, but you know, this is just, it's hard. This is hard for me. I know that Spartan bought some LITM as well. I reverted to the mean, holding okay. All right, I want to quickly go over some stuff here. DAX, this is the blow off bottom I was looking for. Here's the Dow DAX, blow off top I was looking for on that spread. DAX, this is the composite, blow off bottom I was looking for. Right? Everything says this is a blow off. FTSE, this is the FTSE Dow. Okay, UBS, I shouted this out yesterday, friends. Okay, this is one with bounce. It's going to be a nice little gain for us. Okay, watch this UFN.
All right, Beth, I'm ready to pop on whatever.
All right, my friends.
All right, perfect. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Beth. All right, guys, let's pop up the screen share here. Let's get going. So if you guys are new to chat, make sure you click that Discord link that's emailed to you. When you guys do pop into chat, click on the disclaimer section, then click on that new to chat information section at the top. Give it a read from top to bottom. We'll go through that at the end once I'm done and we've closed down the YouTube stream. All right, pre-market tickers on watch, guys. A couple different things that we're looking at today. Tesla, Bkmg, MDB, Coin, XBO, Bumble. Tesla gapping up to the market. Bkmg, Oppenheimer upgraded booking holdings from perform to outperform and set new price target at 25.60. MDB earnings beat EPS and revs year over growth 55.8%. Q1 guidance raised, 2023 guidance in line positive. Stocks gapping up. Coin gapping up in sympathy with Bitcoin and SPY. XPO. Wells Fargo maintains overweight on XPO Logistics, raises price target to 119. And Bumble, pretty mixed earnings, but basically moving on their user growth to the upside. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two we're looking at today, Tesla and Bkmg. So Tesla gapping up with the SPY here. Let's take a look at that daily chart. It's had some great strength. Held up extremely well yesterday compared to the rest of tech. A little bit of a inverted head and shoulders on the daily there. We can see it. If you can't, I'm going to get rid of the line so you can see right there. Right there, inverted head and shoulders, pushing back to the short-term EMA resistance, 840 area. Actually reclaimed the level, looks like, on the daily. Yes. Yes, we did. 841, 842. Yeah. Okay. So we're back above those levels. So, okay. Pivot to the upside today, guys. Going to be the 829.64 levels able to hold. 858.69 will be tested. The 886.19. Unable to hold, we look for pullback towards the 806.03 to 869.97 on the downside. Overall on Tesla, going to be leaning on the bullish side today, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point can hold. So we do have some room to push there. Let's take a look at Bkmg. So a little bit of a gap up there on that upgrade, I think, as well with the market, obviously. So we're pretty much pushing back into EMA resistance. Let's see here, we got room. Last day's low as well. Get that low here. All right, let's take a look at this thing intraday here. Gonna be leaning bullish on Tesla, by the way. Let's take a look at Bkmg. 1945.29 pivot, levels able to hold, the room towards 2018 to 2061. Unable to hold, we look for pullback towards 1859 to 1795 on the downside. Same thing, gonna be leaning bullish neutral. It is gapping up on pretty much air at the moment. There's not really any volume in it this morning on that gap up. A little bit of news behind it, but you're looking for a little bit of a pullback, retest that fifth or that pivot point, and then a continuation push to the upside today. I will be leaning bullish neutral on that name as well. Looks like it can come off the lows a little bit for a bounce. So that's Tesla. That is Bkmg. Let's take a screenshot of these two guys. Let's move on to the next. All right, so let's take a look at MDB. Let's take a look at coin. So MDB, like we talked about, gapping up on their earnings. Guidance was good. Let's see where we got room to today. So daily chart, back above EMA support. This pivot is going to be the next major area of resistance. There's your EMA support reclaim. Okay, let's take a look. Let's go back a little bit further here. About 313s, 324s, got the 332s. Got a couple lower end supports here. I want to go a little bit higher than 332 as well. Next resistance, 351. Yep. EMA resistance there too. Okay. So daily chart parabolic downtrend broken, reclaim some short-term EMA support with some room to push up higher at the moment. And we can label this level, I guess, as well. Typically has quite a bit of range intraday, but we can see in the pre-market looks good. Continuation to the upside. 313.86 pivot, levels able to hold. You got room towards 324.34, the 332.67, unable to hold 302.11, 294.47 on the downside will be tested. Overall on MDB, going to be leaning on the bullish side today, looking for a continuation push higher. if that pivot point can hold. Pivot point can hold. We got room for continuation to the upside into that 324 to 334. Sorry, 324.34 to 332.67. Unable to hold the pivot 302.11 to 294.47 on the downside will be tested. Let's take a look at not Bkmg. Let's take a look at the next name here, coin. So we saw Bitcoin, moving obviously yesterday as well as last night, and coin is gapping up in sympathy with that as well as the SPY. Couple things on the label, just the recent range low. Other than that, the levels are all good. There we go. All right, let's take a look at this thing intraday here. A little bit of a downtrend break on the hourly. You can see that clear as day. All right, I'm gonna get a little bit of more levels here. Okay, so pivot to the upside today is going to be this 170.27 level. This level is able to hold. You got room for continuation into the 175.71 to 181.17. Unable to hold 166.36 to 162.06 on the downside will be tested. Overall on coin, going to be leaning bullish neutral. Looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that level is able to hold. Unable to hold 166.36 to 162.06 would be tested on the downside. Pivot needs to hold for continuation higher, so I'll be leaning bullish if that level can hold, but I'll be looking for a pullback to it on the open, and then we can see if we get that hold and continuation to the upside. That's MDB, and that is coin. Let's take a look at the next two names, XBO and Bumble. So XBO gapping up 71.32 a share, reclaiming some short-term EMA support. Okay, it's not a bad looking chart actually. Back above the 50 EMA. Label that 50 right there. EMA support reclaim in that recent range. That range here as well. And then this lower end level. Go a little bit higher. Okay. Let's take a look at the signature down here. Doesn't look half bad at all. So 70.22 pivot levels able to reclaim room towards 72.80 to 74.34. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 67.65 to 64.67 on the downside. Overall on XBO, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point can hold. So 70.22 holds, we got room for that continuation push. That's what we'll be looking for there. Unable to hold 67.65 to 64.67. Again, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today if that pivot point can hold. If it can, it's got some great room for continuation on the upside. That's XBO. Let's take a screenshot of that. Let's move on to, whoops, let's do Bumble before we screenshot that. So Bumble earnings weren't great. I mean, it was beaten down until them. I get that. The risk reward was certainly to the upside. And even though the guidance wasn't great, they had decent earnings or user growth. So, and year over year growth, I guess. But I think it's mainly because it was beaten down into the earnings. And that's why we're seeing that bounce. If it wasn't as beaten down, I think it would have got sold off on those earnings because they weren't great. So obviously coming off of all-time lows. I think I'm gonna have to get intraday levels here. One sec. Yeah. All right, let's take a look intraday. Yep. Last day low. So 1969 pivot to the upside today. Level holds 2193 to 2423 will be tested. Unable to hold that level, we look for a pullback on on Bumble into 1806 to 1537 on the downside. I'll be looking for a continuation push to the upside today. Hold of the pivot, continuation grind higher. I do think we can get a bigger move off the lows. Again, bad earnings technically and good action is some relative strength basically on earnings. So you tend to get continuation to the upside in the squeeze. Also, like I said, risk reward off the lows is very skewed to the upside because its name was being so beaten down. So would be surprised to see continuation there. So we're leaning on the bullish side of that. So that's XBO, that's Bumble. Let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG. All righty, so let's take a look at SPY here. And I'm going to do this and link this to that. There we go. Red, that, this daily, get rid of this stuff. All righty, so what's going on with the market? Well, SPY did reclaim the 2077 inverted head and shoulder level right there overnight. It closed out very ugly on the daily chart. It looked terrible, to be honest. I thought we were going to get smashed today if we didn't gap. And we're back above it. So 423.10 or 423.11, I should say, is going to be the pivot to the upside today. That level is able to hold. We got room towards the 426.08 to the 428.48 level on the upside. I'm going to get rid of this 421. We don't need it. Unable to hold 423 pivot. We look for a pullback towards 419.39. That level breaks. We're going to see further continuation lower back towards that 416 level on the downside. Overall on the SPY right now, if the pivot point can hold out the gate, I do think we can get a continuation push to the upside. Looking like quite a big reversal to the upside. There is no extension to be filled on the SPY. It has filled it already in the pre-market, FYI. So we'll see if that pivot holds. If it doesn't, I would expect us to come in pretty good. If it does hold, I would expect us to squeeze on the upside back towards like 428s, 430s today. So we'll see what happens in that regard. That is the SPY. Let's take a look at Apple. All right, Apple. Back above short-term EMA support. 460.02 pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold. You got room towards 162.16 to 164.16. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback towards the 158.63 support. That level breaks. 157.22 will be tested on the downside. Right now, I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side as well today, looking for a hold of that pivot, continuation push higher if it can stay intact. So what you're getting, guys, a lot of is if the pivot holds. Big if out the gate, right? See that on a lot of names so far. Let's take a look at Amazon. Double bottom on the daily held. This bounce is not very impressive, to be honest. This one I probably won't be leaning as bullish. No. All right, so pivot to the downside today, 27.92. Levels unable to hold. We got room back towards 27.32 to 26.70. Able to hold. We look for a push back towards 28.70 on the upside. Quite a big amount of range, but I'm going to be leaning on the bearish side today on Amazon. Pivot unable to hold. We got to look for continuation lower on the name today, back towards the double bottom there, or that recent range low, I should say. So that is Amazon. Let's take a look at Netflix. Again, Netflix, ugly looking daily chart. 351.79 pivot levels able to hold. 358.80 to 365.81 will be tested. Unable to hold 341.89 to the 331.89 on the downside will be tested. Overall, going to be leaning bearish on Netflix. Looking for continuation lower. That pivot unable to hold today. That's going to be a confirmation of that range break to the downside on the daily for continuation on the next leg down. So I did break that range right there, that recent range. And it looks obviously quite heavy on the daily from a technical standpoint. So we'll see if we get that continuation or not today. Just an FYI, guys, we got this SBFM running in the pre-market or was running. Watch the warrants as well on it, which is same thing, but with a W at the end. SBFMW. Okay. Let's take a look at Facebook. So Facebook, same sort of chart as Netflix, except it is back above that double bottom area, and it looks a little bit more bullish in regards to it bouncing. Also, if you guys didn't notice that relative strength that Facebook had in it right out the gate yesterday, when the market was pulling back, it held up quite well and actually started to push, kind of led the most of the tech to the upside on that bounce. Because of that, I'll be leaning on the bullish side today. 194.35 pivot level holds, room towards 202.89, unable to hold 188.69 to 183.16 on the downside will be tested. Overall, like I said, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today. Let's take a look at Google. $26.18 pivot levels able to hold. $26.64 will be tested. Unable to hold 25.89 to the 25.74 level on the downside. Overall on Google, it is holding that kind of triple bottom area. Going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today. 25.89 holds. You got room to bounce back into these upper end resistance levels. 26.18, 26.64. Like I said, unable to hold 25.47, 25.13. So I'll be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a little bit of a bounce on that. And that is Google. Let's take a look at the VIX, Qs, and IWM. So last but not least, these three. So VIX, let's see here. What do we got? So VIX, I thought it was, they had the potential to blow off yesterday. It was at 37.52 at level, 37.50 actually, which was the key. There And because that level held, we got that big rejection. Talked about that in the room, on Twitter, everywhere. Now, what do we got today? Okay. There's your uptrend, short term. Okay, so that's going to be a big level. Okay, so 32.59 pivot levels unable to hold. We test that uptrend level, 31.33 area, and then 30.10 will be tested. Able to hold 32.57 to 37.49. Not leaning any particular direction, but I always watch the VIX for direction on the market, guys. So keep an eye on it. It has been leading the market when the VIX pushes to the upside for the SPY to the downside as of late. It looks like this today out the gate, we probably will pull on the VIX into the uptrend, retest it, see what's what at that point. If it holds, of course, you know, market will continue to pull back. And you can see how the VIX has been holding this trend for quite some time. The longest this VIX actually has held the trend for quite a, I mean, we've held the trend for about a month and a half, almost. Month and a quarter, I guess, to the upside, which is pretty rare for the VIX to hold that up that much and be that gradual move. Typically we come back in after we get a decent little pop to the upside. So it is worth noting. QQQs, similar as a SPY, we got a nice little bounce on that. $32.89.93 level hold, 334.08 to 337.69 will be tested. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 323.99 to 320.05 on the downside. Overall on the Qs, like I said, with the market going to be leaning bullish neutral. As long as that pivot can hold, I think we can get a little bit more of a bounce to the upside there. Parabolic downtrend broken. It's not extended to the downside, which is something to note, but it did reclaim EMA support in the short term. So I think we got room for further continuation higher if the pivot can hold. Again with that if, right? And then last but not least, guys, IWM. $197.41 pivot levels able to hold. They got room towards 199.57 to 201.05. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 195.23 to 193.49. That level breaks 191.40 will be tested. Overall on the IWM, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side as well today. If that pivot point can hold, I think we can get a little bit more of a bounce. IWM's done a much better job of the other indices of holding up just because of the components in it. I think we can get a push back up. Like I said, pivot hold. So that's the level we'll be looking at today. Going to take a screenshot of that. And lastly, guys, because we do have a little bit of time here, like 40 seconds, I want to take a quick look at Bitcoin. Let's take a look at that. Bitcoin, let's see here. What do we got? So a nice little push back up, 42.36. All right, so 50 MA at 42.50. 4,200 or 42,500, 42,600 essentially is that 50 MA on the upside. That's going to be the key level to get back above. If you get back above that, you'll be pushing back into the 44,667 area. Unable to do so, I'd look for a pullback in the short term to 41,000 and then into the 40,000 level. But 42,600 will be that pivot. Reclaim short-term EMA support off the lows. It doesn't look half bad. It looks like it can push back to the top of that range, like the bottom of the range held for now in the short term. So keep an eye on that 42,600 level, essentially. Not a bad looking chart, but 50 MA is obviously a big resistance on the daily to the upside. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and pass over to South Beach for a little bit, guys, while I type up that pre-market action plan. Once I'm done, we'll come back on. I'll do a quick little recap of everything that we talked about. We'll be ready for the open. South Beach, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Morning, guys. All right. Excuse me. All right, so we're walking into a big up move, but let's look at the setup and then we'll get back to what to do about it. Okay, so 10 years at 191. So decent move up over the last couple of days, right? Up in yield, I'm talking about now. Feels like a lot of people who were worried about the currencies moved into the bond market and stuff. And maybe that's ending a little bit, but the spread between the 5 years, the lowest I've seen, it's 0.06, which is pretty flat. The 210 is at what, 0.25. Okay, we need greater than 0.50 for a 50 basis point increase, so that's not happening. Let's look at London. They're 0.075, I'm sorry, 0.05 higher, 150 on the 10-year. So moving up to their highs. Okay, that would make sense. You think inflation is bad in the US, Europe has it way, way, way worse. And yet the 10-year in Germany is 0.18. So I think they better get some religion over there or they're gonna have the same problem we have. And so rates are up across the board, basically. That's what we have, okay? Let's look at commodities. All right, so we have a little bit of a change going on here. If this thing would flip over, here we go. So we got oil down, what, Finsky, more or less, 6 now, okay? Natural gas, pretty unchanged. Gold is down 41, so it's at that 2000 level now, I think, right? Oh, broke 2000. So that'll be interesting. That'll serve as some kind of resistance, right? I think a lot of people walked in long gold because they used that 2000 as support, and not so fast, huh? So we have that. Copper's down a tinge. All right, so we got wheat down 4%, which we haven't seen in a long time. Remember, it's up from 750, 800. It's 1229 now, so it's up 50% in what, a week? So to see it come off 4%, I mean, it's not a big situation, okay? Hold on, I'm trying to get something off my phone. Okay, there we go. Corn is down barely. And these commodity, agricultural commodities are coming in a little bit, but really it's not significant. And inflation is a real issue, guys, but you know that, okay? Currency-wise, dollars down against North America, up against the yen, flat against China, and the euro's up to 110. It was at 109, down from 112, 113. So that's where we are now. Not a lot of movement in that. Crypto's having a monster day. Maybe it's because the US is, Biden signing that thing, and basically people are realizing crypto's here to stay. I think that's fair. We have Bitcoin up 8%. I'm not a fan of Bitcoin. Ethereum's up 7%. I prefer that. And Solana's up 6%. Still, hanging in, but they've gotten drugged too. And once again, they're moving with high PE tech. So, with a high PE tech on steroids, basically. Okay, so that's that. And let's look at the foreign markets. Okay, let's see what we got there. So we got the FTSE up 1.5%. We have the DAX up 5%. Now remember, okay, guys, that the movement over the, in the last year, well, for the month coming into today, Germany was down, what, 13%? So for it to have a bounce makes sense, right? It's up 5%. These problems that they're having with oil and whatnot, they're not going away. So, and the prices there are completely out of control. So, okay, so they bounced. I wouldn't say, I don't know. I'm not thinking this at the bottom. Let's put it that way. We may get a couple of day rally, but we'll see. Okay, so and the CAC is up 4%. Russia market still has not opened. Nikkei is down barely 73 points, which is 0.3%. Hong Kong and China are down about 1% each. One thing I didn't check is the Russian currency. Let's go back and look at that. Let's see how they're doing. Maybe they got a little, no. Oh yeah, so they're down to 118. So down a little bit. I think it was like 130, 140 to the dollar. Now it's 118, up from 75. So a little bit better for those guys. And I think their market's supposed to open tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so that's the backdrop. All right. We walk in today, S&Ps are up a boatload. So we got to, well, let's talk about how to play the market at the end, okay? What else did I see today? Dan Niles was on TV today. He used to be a semiconductor analyst at Barclays. He used to be Lehman when he was the analyst, has a hedge fund. Guy's been dead right about a lot of things this year. I mean, really right. And so let's look at what he's saying. He thinks the S&P is going to be down 20% for the year. And it could be down up to 50% if valuations get to normal valuations. And he says sometimes they just overshoot. He thinks there's a high probability of a recession next year. I agree with that. You know, every time there's a spike in oil like this, and I don't see oil coming down a whole lot, but we'll see. I mean, time will tell. Thinks the market's oversold. You're going to get these oversold. Look, this is what a bear market rally looks like. You know, rip your face off rally. You don't get a whole lot of opportunity to play it. Yesterday was insane, wasn't it? I mean, like, I don't think I can remember the S&Ps moving around like that in a really long time. Okay, they were down a bunch, then they were up 75, then they went down, then they went up, and they closed down, what, 30 or 40? So huge moves in that. All right, so he's moving money into solar and EV. He bought a little Square, has some interest in some of these fintech names. But basically, he's pretty bearish. He just thinks they're going to get a bounce. Okay, so we have the banks and the Fed. We have the Fed going to raise rates in March. Nothing really out of those guys. Their hands are tied. You know, even if things got nasty, there's not a whole lot they can do. All right, what are they going to do? Lower rates? I mean, come on. China's the only thing you hear from China is they're backing their boys in Russia. We had Friedman from the Times on this morning saying China has one friend and it's China. So effectively, Russia has no friends. And his fear is, you know, he talked about history basically. And if this doesn't go well for him, meaning Putin and Ukraine, they'll probably kill him. I think that's probably true. So he may do something crazy. Well, not that he hasn't done stuff crazy already, but even crazier. So that's his fear. I agree with what, you know, his analysis completely. All right, Russia, what's to say? Okay, let's move. The only thing I can say is pretty much all our companies, Western companies, are moving out of Russia. Some of them use the word temporary. Some of them just move out altogether. But by and large, everybody's leaving, and it's we'll see how the Russian people react. I feel bad for them, actually. Crypto, we talked about. The oil market, we talked about. The virus is irrelevant. The dollar and Mr. Market yesterday, which I alluded to how volatile it was. Okay. At the end of the day, solar and EV were the champs, right? The vaccine stocks were strong. The semis were strong. Retail was pretty good. Airlines hung in there okay. Hotel stocks had a little bounce. Cruise lines had a little bounce. And on the negative side, you had the worst stocks, which I caught pretty good, was consumer non-durables and utilities and drug stocks. High PE tech was soft as well, as were REITs and HMOs. Okay, so that was yesterday. Let's see, news today as far as earnings. Bumble was pretty good, actually very good, not surprising there. I was telling you that, you know, my son, I have a son that's 27, and all the couples meet on these websites. So that's very culturally in vogue right now, not getting set up as much. And so Bumble came in with a good number. Oatly was good. MDB we know is good. Express, a retailer, was good. Zim, a shipper, we know the rates there are through the roof, and that's a good one. Whenever someone asks me about shippers, I said the best thing for shipper is war. They have it. Okay. THL had a good quarter. That's RV stock. And that's about it. Okay. On news and individual names, XPO, which is run by a complete stud, Brad Jacobs, is going to split that stock up. The guy's a complete winner. What can you say? Okay. He does it every time. EXAI had positive abstracts. Boeing got an order from DHL. PayPal said they're leaving Russia, and EOSE got an order for up to 150 million. Okay. On the negative side, you got CRCT, Yext, and Stitch Fix. I never did understand what Stitch Fix does, to be honest. I mean, what do they tell you what clothes to wear? It's ridiculous. I don't get the whole thing. KNTX is doing a secondary, and Hindenburg Research has their sights on NTRA on the short side. Okay, so that's all individual movers. Okay. After the close, we're going to have earnings from ASAN, Crowd, and Fossil. And the reason I go over this in the morning, guys, is to give you time to put on a trade if you want. Obviously, I don't advocate being long or short equity, but if you have a feeling, you got to do it with options. It takes time to set up. So ASAN, Crowd, and Fossil. And tomorrow morning, you got JD, Wheels Up, Seat, and on a lesser extent, BBW. Okay, so that is that. All right, let's talk about research for a moment, even though these guys are a joke. Let's see if they said anything interesting here. You remember that call yesterday that I liked? I forgot who it was. Maybe it was Morgan Stanley. They downgraded all these investment banking firms, reiterated the buys but lowered the targets, because there's very little investment banking business right now, not a lot of M&A, and certainly there's been the syndicate department has been, doing absolutely zip up. So they lowered targets, reiterate, outperform. I'm talking about Piper now, whose research I think really stinks, but I'm going over because I like the call. They lowered the target in Evercore, Houlihan Lokey, Lazard, and what is this, Moelis and Company. Okay, Lazard is getting to a level which I think is kind of interesting. What else on the negative side? Let's give a little accolades to Netflix. The guy had a sell on it at Wedbush, and he went to a neutral. It reached his price target. So I'm always knocking these guys for not being right. Here's a guy who really, dead on. Okay, he said they get to 342. They got to 342. Fabulous, fabulous call. Okay, and I think someone else did that. Yeah, Guidewire out of Wells Fargo, same kind of thing. Guy had a sell. It reached his price target. What did he do? He lowered the target even more. Okay, yep, SPY is ripping. What else? DXC goes SPY to a sell at Bank of America. They don't like the macro environment for these guys. Take the target from 45 to 30. And PayPal was downgraded by Bank of America as well. I don't know why they do it now. They've had ample opportunity, and now they downgraded it, so to neutral. You remember that Sticks got smoked yesterday afternoon? Morgan Stanley is talking about it today. Katie Uberty, who's first-rate analyst. Okay, equal weight target 101. They said the quarter's running on the low end of expectations. You remember I gave you my theory on semiconductors, which is effectively companies got religion when we were coming out of the pandemic, and they didn't have enough semiconductors to meet demand. All right. I think this is going to be the situation for all of these guys. Maybe not NVIDIA, but most of them anyway. I think a lot of companies double ordered, and I think there's going to be an issue with that. Okay. So That's what I think. Sticks. Any other thing on the short side? Neutral to sell gap stores. That's about it. All right, long side, Bumble, everybody's raising targets, basically. 29 in one case. So here, guys, lowering his target from 42 to 35, but that's a positive. JP Morgan 50 to 41, but they like it, etc. Everybody likes this XPO as well. Okay, I think that's a fantastic situation. All right, targets range from like 80 to 100. Okay, the guy always delivers. Fantastic, fantastic company. All right. The other interesting situation was Dollar Tree. So they did get the guy from Dollar General. And now the stock is going to, you know, Beth was asking me my favorite retailer. I told you it was Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree has been awesome. I think it's breaking out. I think it goes higher. And I may do a pair trade and short DG. I don't know. I got to look at it. Okay. Anyway, well, maybe I'll just buy it outright. Dick's. Citibank likes Dick's. They take the target from 161 to 170. No wisecracks there. And Signify, SGFY. Stock X pretty well, guys. Target neutral to buy, target 20 to 25. Okay, so that's that. Kathy did nothing. She bought ATAI. She sold LG. Insider buying in IVZ. UTS. Now you know why it wasn't going down yesterday. And Carvana, someone bought. You know, guys, some markets are overnight markets. Some markets are trading markets. This is not an overnight market, in my opinion. Okay, it's, you know, you can play these little names, but had you taken what worked yesterday, which was you would have been short consumer non-durables in Yakista. You would have been short drugs in Yakista. You would have been short utilities in Yakista. You would have been long oil and gas, smoked. Okay, you would have been long EV, smoked. You would have been long. In other words, you would have gotten your clock cleaned. So just be careful with overnight momentum. Pick your spots. All right. Make sure that, you know, it won't be affected by a big move in something like oil. All right. And be careful. All right. So if you were taking these big names, you have a problem. All right. So how's the setup today? First of all, with the market up 91 S&P points, I am not buying diddly dick on the opening. Okay, I think I'll be able to get things cheaper if I want to go long. I'll let the market do what it does. I'm going to sit on my hands, okay, for the first 15, 20 minutes and see how this thing plays out. If I did anything, I would probably short. And I may do that. I don't know. At this point, I'm not sure. Okay. What else? Group rotation. All right, so what's obvious? It's kind of sort of a little obvious today, what's not going to work and what's not. And I mean, it's going to be a mean reversion kind of day. So the stuff that's been hot, it will not. And the stuff that's not should be hotter. Okay, I'm not so keen on high PE tech. I know they're flying out of the gate, but with high interest rates, I'm not so keen on them. I'd rather buy stuff like bank stocks, insurance stocks, airlines, hotels, insurance, maybe some retail. They're getting some relief with cheap oil. And of course, the weak ones are going to be what? Defense stocks, that's been hot. Oil and gas, E&P, right? Gold and silver, and some of these material names. And also fertilizer kind of names. So those are the names that'll be soft this morning, and we'll see how it plays out. It seems to me that just follow oil, and you can follow, group rotation. Okay, that seems like to me oil is calling all the shots. Okay, let me see if anybody asked any questions while I was talking. Bitcoin still basically looks like NASDAQ 100. Okay, I don't disagree. Ukraine is holding tight. Any questions? Facebook just started doing a dating app too. Okay, more the merrier. I don't think these kids like Facebook, guys. They like Instagram, but who knows? That's it. Okay, so listen, I'm out of time. Don't do anything crazy. Don't get too one way on the market. Let's see how the setup goes. And it's all yours, Spartan. Thanks, guys.
Alrighty, thank you, South Beach guys. Morning, what's going on? Let's take a look at what we got going on today. A couple of things. Pre-market tickets on watch. Everything's posted here. I'm gonna show you guys. You can actually just pause it, look at the action plan if you want to. There you guys go. Here's all the charts, etc. As well as can take a look at the option side of things. Oh, not posted yet. I'll show you when it's posted. All right, pre-market tickets on watch. What do we got going on today, guys? Tesla, Bkmg, MDB, Coin, XPO, and Bumble. So Tesla gapping up simply the market, Bkmg, Oppenheimer upgrades bookings to outperform, and a 2,525, basically 2,560 price target. MDB earnings beat EPS and revs year-over-year growth 55.8%. Q1 guidance raised, 2023 guidance in line positive, stocks gapping up. Coin gapping up and simply with the Bitcoin and SPY. XPO, Wells Fargo maintains overweight on XPO logistics, raises price target to 119. Bumble earnings miss EPS and revs year-over-year growth 25.7%. Q1 guidance lower, 2022 guidance in line user growth. Gapping up, sorry, on user growth as well. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint. Intraday, first two names that we're looking at today, guys, Tesla and Bkmg. The Tesla Bkmg, let's have a look. Tesla gapping up with the SPY, 829.64 pivot to the upside today. Level holds 858.69 to 886.19. Unable to hold 806.03 to 769.97 will be tested on the downside. Overall, in Tesla leaning bullish neutral if that pivot point can hold. Bkmg 190.19, 29 pivot level holds 2016. Sorry, I can't read today. 2018 to 2061. Unable to hold 1859 to 1795 on the downside will be tested. Overall in Bkmg leaning bullish neutral on that name as well. Let's take a look at MDB. Let's take a look at Coin. MDB pivot to the upside today, 313.86 level holds, room to 324.34 to 332.67, unable to hold 302.11, 294.47 on the downside will be tested. Overall on MDB leaning bullish, neutral looking for a continuation push higher today. Coin, let's take a look at that. Pivot to the upside today, 170.27, levels able to hold 175.71 to 181.17 will be tested. Unable to hold 166.36 to 162.06 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Coin leaning bullish neutral if that pivot point can hold. Let's take a look at XPO. Let's take a look at Bumble. XPO 70.22 pivot level hold 72.80. That level breaks. We got room towards the 74.34 spot. Unable to hold 67.65 to that 64.67 will be tested on the downside. Same thing if XPO can hold the pivot, it's going to be leaning bullish there. Guys, got to get the theme of the day. Bumble pivot to the upside today is the 1969 level holds 21.93 to 24.23. Unable to hold 18.06 to 15.37, leaning bullish on that name as well. Let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG here, guys. SPY market pivot 423.11. Let's type this up. SPY, so 423.11 pivot to the upside today. This level holds room higher into the 426.08 resistance breaks. We see the 428.48 level tested. Pivot unable to hold. Room lower into the 419.39 support. Breaks. We see the 416.10 tested. We'll be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher on the SPY if pivot can hold. If it can't, guys, we're obviously going to come in. All right. It's not extended to the upside. There's not really any reason to be holding up here other than the short-term EMA supports holding on the daily. So, do I trust the rally? Not really. Do I think we'll come in? I don't know. We'll see what happens on the open. I don't know. It's an interesting spot that we're at the moment. We are holding that double bottom or that lower end support, large support on the daily. So that's a positive, but it's hard to say on the direction. I'm leaning bullish as long as that pivot can stay intact. If it breaks, then I look to go short. Like South Beach, probably be waiting a little bit out the gate. 160.02 pivot on Apple, level holds, room towards 162.16 to 164.16 on the upside. Unable to hold 158.63 to 157.22. Overall on Apple, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher. Pivot can hold. Amazon Going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today. Pivot unable to hold that 27.92 level or room towards 27.32 to 26.70. Able to hold 28.70 to be tested. Let's take a look at Netflix. Going to be leaning bearish on this one as well. 351.79 pivot. Unable to hold 341.89 to 331.89 will be tested. Able to hold 358.80 to 365.81 on the upside. Let's take a look at Facebook. Facebook back above the pivot. It's got some relative strength to it, or had some yesterday, I should say. 194.35 pivot level holds 202.99. Unable to hold 188.69 to 183.16, or sorry, 19 on the downside will be tested. Leaning bullish on Facebook if that pivot point can stay intact. Let's take a look at Google. Pivot to the upside today. Where is my, there it is. Got the L there. 25.89 pivot levels able to hold. You got room towards 26.18 to 26.64. Unable to hold 25.47 to 25.13 on the downside will be tested. Overall on Google, leading bullish neutral on that name as well. Let's take a look at the QQQs, VIX, IWM. So we'll start with the VIX. So VIX, guys, big level to watch this morning. This is important. 32.56. Unable to hold. We got room towards that uptrend on the daily, 31.32 at level, then 30.10 on the downside. Able to hold 35.37 to 37.49 on the upside would be tested. We'll see what happens in regards to VIX, but I'm using it for directional on the SPY as I typically would. QQQs, pivot, 328.93, levels able to hold, 334.08 to 337.69 will be tested. Unable to hold 323.99 to 320.05 on the downside. Overall, the Q is going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today if that pivot point can stay intact as well. And last but not least, guys, IWM 197.41 pivot levels able to hold room towards 199.57 to the 201.05 spot. Unable to hold 195.23 to 193.49 on the downside will be tested. And overall on IWM, same thing, leaning bullish neutral if that pivot point can hold. And last but not least, guys, I'm just going to quickly show you the options sheet before we close down that YouTube stream. And there you are. All righty. So if you guys have any questions, you go to spartantrading.com, or if you want to join us. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We do this every